Hey guys, and welcome to a super fun battle I had on stream the other day, up against Troot here, who I'm not sure if it is in fact Lotus Moon or not, under a different name, as he did have the same symbol, but who knows. He's going to be in charge of the mighty Wood Elf forces, and myself are going to be leading, of course, the Children of the Old Ones, the mighty Lizardmen host, which should be some good fun. This was a highlight game from my latest stream, so I thought it deserved a cast of its own. So, this is a build I've really wanted to be shown off for quite some time up against the Wood Elves. It is a variation on a build someone else did indeed make. So up front we do have 4 Chameleon Skinks in a pack of 2 on this left flank and a pack of 2 on the right hand side. Now Chameleon Skinks are fantastic up against Wood Elves. They're incredibly pesty, they're sticky, they do not die very well, they have really decent missile resistance of 40. Of course, being in a skirmish formation also helps them negate some of that incoming missile fire, which of course the Wood Elves are known for. At the same time, they can do decent damage as well to even Wild Riders and the like, slowing them down before slinking behind the main line to escape. Now for the front line, we have a ton of Skink cohorts as well as Saurus warriors with shields, which makes for a decent mix overall. You get the little Skinks, they can hunt down enemy troops in the back line, where Saurus warriors trade very effectively up against Eternal Guard, Dryads and the like. Now Elhelcombe did say on stream that he would consider dropping one of the Skink cohorts and making them into Javelin variety, which is something I am going to experiment in the future, but for now we just have the one Skink cohort with Javelins down here. And we also have double Garys here, so 2 Bastiladons with solar engines to do some nice long-range fire. My opponent's gone for trees as well, tree men, Durfu and the like. They do kind of a nice fire damage as well. And for our lordship, we do have a Slan Mage Priest here of high magic. And the reason I bring high magic is pretty much for this spell here, Tempest, which can pin in the enemy flying lords. Very good, of course, up against the much-picked Glade Lady. So we have Tempest, Hand of Glory, Apotheosis, and of course coming in with Banishments, Shield of the Old Ones, and all his standard spells. I do have 2 units of Cold One Spear Riders as well for a bit of backline protection, and that is going to be our build. Now for our opponent today and the Wood Elf forces, he does have double Sisters of Thorn in the front line. These ladies, not only a pretty good counter skirmish, but coming with some very useful abilities as far as the curse goes, as well as Shield of Thorns, allowing lovely map control. Up in the high ground we do have a Spellsinger of Life, as well as a Spellsinger of Beast, coming in with Manticore Summon and Earthblood. And as expected, it is going to be the big Glade Lady up on top of her dragon, and this dragon is just an incredible model, certainly my favourite dragon model overall, and she's obviously going to be coming in with the Prey of Enough Raymer. For his main battle line, he does have Eternal Guard. These guys will hold for an absolute eternity, with the pun of their name, but Winterheart Guard as well, Regiment Round version are unbreakable, so a very tough and stalwart kind of front line. And then for his range today, he's going to be coming in with a ton of Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts. Now, I actually am quite a big fan of this build overall. I'm not sure if the double eagle is needed or simply a single one, but Glade Guard are a really big damage dealer overall up against the Lizardmen forces, and also come with a decent amount of AP, whilst not having to sacrifice too much money as you would on Way Watchers. So as the battle does get underway, we're going to be rotating our force round, slowly taking more to the high ground here before wrapping around our right hand flank. We want to surround this Wood Elf force as much as possible, and in come those Starfire Shafts, and despite our missile resistance and the like, they actually do very decent damage to my Chameleon Skinks over the course of the battle, so I have to keep an eye out on them. At this point, I don't really want to be shooting this front line. It's a little bit pointless for my Chameleon Skinks into shielded Eternal Guard. So these guys look like they don't have that shield. So I'm trying to float over here to do damage to the Sisters of Thorn. However, Sisters of Thorn, I believe, do come in with a nice physical resistance as well of 40%. So they're pretty damn tanky. They're a lot tankier than you'd expect. Probably slightly more tanky than the hard-hitting Wild Riders. So as you can see on our right hand side, we are pushing up with Saurus and Skink cohorts as well, just to pressure that back line as much as possible, whilst moving up some Chameleon Skinks to do a little bit of tit for tat trading of damage up against the Sisters of Thorn. But as you can see here, my Chameleon Skinks have been absolutely nuked by the focus fire of the Glade Guard. I'm taking way more damage than I expected, so we're trying our best to take down Sisters of Thorn, but not really doing too much damage, at the same time taking quite a bit in return. The solar engines are now starting to fire, having got into range, and we are going to be focusing down at the Glade Guard for the most part, realising they're probably the biggest threat to my army at the moment, apart from these Flying Lords, but good micro from my opponent so far, and throughout the game as a whole. He's not going to be letting these guys get caught too often. So in comes some more shots as well. I'm going to be pulling back my Saurus Warriors, just trying to delay the engagement for now. I'm trading okay in the range fight. We are losing Chameleon, Skinks, unfortunately. But now that the Garys are in range, I'm hoping to kind of, do a decent amount of damage to these Glade Guard, force the Wood Elves forward a little bit to help me get a nice quick surround here. And down on the low ground here, we are eventually going to beat back these Sisters of Thorn with our Chameleon Skinks. In comes the Gary, doing some really solid damage now overall, and that is going to entice my opponent to start to move forward, which is, what we want overall. So some nice shots coming in now, starting to focus down my poor Bastiladon here, who is going to be falling back slightly, but it's going to be hard to keep him nice and healthy. Chameleon Skinks falling back as well, and we are going to be dropping a Fat Tempest here. I really want to get the Spell Slinger of Life off the battlefield as quickly as possible. Looks like the beast did just manage to escape. I was trying to catch both there. The Spell Slinger of Life is going to take a little bit of damage here. Nothing too crazy at the moment, but that consistent damage over the course will really help. Now I can hear in my ear here that there is a summoned Manticore coming to the field as well. Feral Manticores are a very powerful unit overall. Probably going to be dropping down, trying to assassinate my poor Gary here, who's been focus fired very effectively by Glade Guard. We have started to move down the right-hand flank, but a lovely play by my opponent, dropping the Curse of Anir, which you might be wondering, why is he dropping it here? I'm not in melee, so the whole melee and accuracy debuff doesn't really help. But it is stalling me getting into the back line more and more, and I need to shut this back line down if I do have any chance of winning here. And he managed to catch a huge amount of my units. So the Cold War Spearriders do almost get in the back line, and they are netted by the prey of enough Rama. We're really going to get pinned down here, but luckily we do have the Skink cohorts to continue putting pressure onto the back line, so hopefully we can save our Cold War Spearriders. But this focus fire is really starting to make us pay the troll here. So the Feral Manticore has landed in the back line. We hopped on top of him with the Cold One Spear Riders. Going to be dragging him down relatively quickly. He's going to do some okay damage, but overall it's not too bad for us. We do drop a Tempest down as well on top of the Glade Lord, and now we're going to start focusing and firing him down with Gary as well, getting some huge burst damage on the boy, which is always good to see. He has pops in the back line to help clear up the Skink cohorts, and he's going to need to use his flying units as much as possible to protect this back line. But we are sneaking in there with Skink cohorts, just forcing our way through as the battle does go on. However, the balance power is quite heavily against us at this point. Slar Mage Priest, I've been a bit lackluster with him, not using his abilities quite as much as I should be. We do pop a nice Shield of the Old Ones down here, or of Quetzal, and a huge banishment in the back line. Catches a ton of these Glade Guard, and is kind of hanging around them as well. Sometimes these banishments can disappear quite quickly. A nice Shield of Thorns has been popped to try and counteract that, just a tad too slow. The back lines, our Skinks are slowly being cleared up by some decent micro by my opponent. A huge breath attack coming down on both units of Saurus Warriors, who were slowed by the curse once again. So far, the Wood Elves have done a fantastic job of keeping map control, and you can see my army is kind of falling apart in this situation, as the Slar Mage Priest does get hit with a curse as well. He pops an Apotheosis, just trying to escape this constant fire coming in from the Glade Guard here. Up in the skies, the Glade Lady is still quite healthy, as well as the Spell Slinger of Beasts, but it looks like we did manage to force off the Life Mage probably quite early on. I kind of missed that. I missed that during the battle as well. I was trying to spot her as much as possible, but that early Tempest may have actually broke her and forced her off the field. We do drop another Tempest onto the Glade Lady, and as far as flying kind of dragons go, she is relatively squishy, so Tempest across the battlefield will certainly help out. Slar Mage Priest unfortunately is routing from the Spell Slinger of Beasts. We do have Chameleons doing some nice Overwatch fire, and they will tear apart a Spell Slinger like this over the course of a short duration. Unfortunately, she is going to crump our Slar Mage Priest, and with that, the battle's looking pretty damn rough. Another Brave Enough Rama goes down on the Cold One Spear Riders, who we need to push into the back line. However, we do have Saurus Warriors fighting as well, going toe-to-toe here with Sisters of Thorn, as well as Eternal Guard. These Saurus are going to have a pretty good time overall, just grinding down this fight. There's a healthy amount of Glade Guard in the centre pocket, slowly running out of ammunition, however, so I'm going to be moving up to Skink cohorts and the like. Unfortunately, Gary is routing from the field here, and we definitely need him to help put consistent pressure up in on those flying forces. So we do manage to break the Spell Slinger of Beasts here, but unfortunately she is relatively quick, of course, being on top of a giant eagle. So we're trying to hunt down the Chameleon Skinks, but I do eventually give up the chase, as I think I'm needed more back in this main pocket of strength. So the Winterheart Guard very beaten up at this point, so our Chameleon Skinks will eventually be engaging there. We're doing some decent fire with our Chameleons as well. Unfortunately, Cold One Spear Riders do get forced off a little bit by Tear Out. They're going to be swooping back round, trying to put as much pressure onto this Wood Elf backline as possible. Skink cohorts as well, not going to be having the best of times up against a Shield of Thorns Glade Lady. And these guys, yeah, Very tired, wavering, damage sustained. I do not blame those little skink boys at all. We have managed to drag the balance of power back slightly even with the lack of ammunition on the Wood Elf force. So the Common Spirais have been pretty pivotal up to this point. There is still a decent amount of these guys as well, despite their low health pool. So still 16 of these guys, considerable number over on a Glade Lady, and also do some decent work in the centre pocket. So in the back lines, we've been using our Chameleon Skinks as much as possible to rescue the Bastillodon. You can see my opponent's Beast Caster has rallied, so we're going to be pulling back with these Chameleon Skinks, who have a decent amount of ammunition left, and will certainly be able to take down the Glade Lady if they can do consistent damage, of course. So we're desperately trying to chase down the Glade Lady at this point, but a fantastic net, a really clutch net here, is coming in, rescuing the Glade Lady, allowing her to recover her morale and get back up into the sky. And our poor cold ones are now going to be saturated on by Eternal Guard. I feel like a big fat breath attack is possibly coming as well. Maybe not, the dragon kind of turned with intent, perhaps she's just going to be shooting from the back of the beast there. So our Chameleons have rallied here. We're going to be focusing fire down these Sisters of Thorn, as they're one of the last units left, which is fast enough to catch us here. So we're going to be peppering her with shots as much as possible, just trying to drag them down and break them before they can hop on top of our Skirmishes here. And look who's back. The wavering Gary does rally to the field, and he is going to be shooting his shots in. Looks like at the moment he was swinging for Eternal Guard, but we're certainly going to be pushing him up on top of the Glade Lady wherever possible. And I wish my Slam was live at this point, because one last Tempest would easily be able to finish off this Glade Lady here. But we are starting to struggle. Our Skinks are slowly grinding down the Glade Guard for the most part. In comes Gary. A big slap to that lady's face there. And it looks like the Glade Lady may well be running for the hills here. Down to -7 leadership. And she does start to flee from the field. I really do not want her to rally basically at any cost, as I try to get 1 or 2 more shots off, but it looks like he is slowly slunk kind of out of range here. But with their Lord gone, the Eternal Guard start to break, and the Skinks are cutting these guys down as they do retreat. We have a tiny amount of ammunition left on my Chameleon Skinks, which I believe I did turn these guys off fire at will, at least some of the units, so I could try and focus down at the Glade Lady. We do try and test my opponent's micro a little bit, make sure they're paying attention and switch targets briefly. And just missing the Spell Slinger of Beast actually makes it start to waver here. But it looks like she is going to be recovering and be relatively okay at this point. But this was a very stressful battle overall. At this point, I'm like, I don't know who's going to win. It's still so close. When a battle's this close after 9.5 minutes, you know you've had a good game. But what my opponent does here is very good stuff. The Glade Lady simply going to fly up in the sky and shoot down with those nice armor-piercing missiles from long range. So we are going to be turning to try and engage a shot, but we do in fact rout before we can get that final shot off. One more shot would almost certainly shatter this Glade Lady. We are going to be escorting troops off where we can, Eternal Guard and Glade Guard. But I do notice that I'm basically going to have to become one big fist, a wrecking ball, to just try and slam into these guys if they do land. So we're trying to fall back with our Saurus Warriors and our Chameleon Skinks, realising that I've overextended a little bit on this left-hand flank. Unfortunately, the Bastillodon probably going to get executed here by the Spell Slinger. These guys have a decent amount of punch, one on the back of a giant eagle, okay armor piercing and the like, forcing off the Bastillodon, but at the same time, he's relatively chunky with his 140 armor, -3 leadership, trying to bring him back by pulling over my Chameleon Skinks. We still have 1 volley left, which I demand goes into this Glade Lord. I want to just try and finish her off as quickly as possible. Maybe a tiny bit extra damage will be able to break her, who knows. So the Saurus Warriors have managed to rally as well, and the Spell Slinger, I think she's going to be able to chase off the Bastillodon. I can't actually remember how that turns out there. The Glade Guard getting 1 or 2 volleys left here, but the Glade Lady, I believe, does take that last volley from the Chameleon Skinks here, goes down to 385 health, and that is enough to start to rout her. So I'm desperately clicking. You can see dragging my forces over to the left-hand side. I want to be pressuring these Glade Guard by being near them to try and break them, whilst their Lord is running for the hills. And I want to stay as close as possible just to force her off the field. -5 leadership. It is incredibly close at this point. Spellslinger does manage to finish with poor Gary, but you shall be remembered. He did some fantastic work during the course of the battle, getting some really key hits in on the big targets. So if we take stock of what we have here, we have Chameleon Skinks, 3 units of those bad boys. Some of our units are starting to break as well, but the Glade Lady does run for the hills, and with that, army losses is going to set in. As you can see, all the Wood Elves are starting to shatter, waver, and so forth. Spellslinger of Beast is trying to float around, but that is going to be a very, very Pyrrhic victory there for myself and the forces of the Lizardmen. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. It was a pretty crazy game overall. Well played to Troot as well. Big fan of his build. I think it did very well. It required a ridiculous amount of micro and battlefield presence with the Sisters of Thorn, as well as the net play coming in from the Glade Lady. But he did it expertly, netting down my cav. As you can see, one unit got 0 kills. And also slowing down huge pockets of my army overall, but we just about managed to grind out this fight. Now, this build is a build that had success on a previous stream as well, up against a different Wood Elf style of build, and it kind of played out the same way. Early doors, it's okay, it's a bit tit for tat. Then as the game gets into the middle stage, the Wood Elves tend to take the lead quite drastically, but Wood Elves are very glass cannon and they can run out of steam quite quickly. As soon as their ammunition ran dry, they really struggled to take down that many Skinks and just solid Saurus warriors overall, and slowly got dragged down basically through a simple war of attrition. But very well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed as well. If you did, please do feel free to subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. And if you want to get involved on my Discord community, where you can post replays and the like, feel free to join. There's a link just down in the description down below. If you want to see more games from this live stream, it is now up on the channel. I was a bit ill, I had a headache and so forth on the day, so the replays not the highest of quality perhaps, but we certainly had a ton of fun, and it's a really fun watch if you want to see me get stomped a couple of times and somehow scrape a few victories. And then guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.